F1 fans weren't ready for this. Just as preseason testing was wrapping up, the paddock was hit with one of the most heated controversies in recent memory. The spotlight turned sharply toward a design feature now being labeled as the Mini rear wing trick, a tweak some claim offers an unfair edge at high speeds. The origin of this dispute: Red Bull, their engineering team, particularly Pierre Watch, came forward with bold accusations, pointing fingers at rivals, mainly Ferrari and McLaren, for bending the rules, quite literally. According to Red Bull, these teams were fitting their cars with rear wings that flex ever so slightly when under stress at high speed. This subtle motion allows the wing to open just enough to let more air through, reducing drag and giving the car a speed boost on long straights. In simpler terms, it's like having a mini advantage that others. That's a problem. Because under FIA's regulations, any such movement is strictly off limits. The rules demand stability in all aerodynamic components, especially parts that impact speed and airflow. It's not the first time this issue has come up. Just last year, McLaren received a formal warning for a similar situation, and the FIA promised tighter control going forward. But now, with renewed complaints from Red Bull, the governing body has had to act quickly. They've already released an official note to every team, detailing new inspection procedures that will kick off at the Australian Grand Prix. And the measures are serious. Each car will now have added markers and cameras fixed near the rear wing area. These tools will monitor any flex or motion that shouldn't be happening. If any car is caught with parts shifting beyond what's allowed, the penalties could be significant. Fines, disqualifications, nothing is off the table. The response from the FIA has been swift and firm. Along with the camera-based tracking system, they've introduced more demanding rear wing flexibility tests starting from the Australian Grand Prix. These are not just small adjustments. The changes are designed to catch even the slightest movement that could give teams an unfair edge. Teams have already been briefed. Mechanics and engineers are now under pressure to make sure their cars can pass these tighter checks. If there's any sign of irregular movement, it won't be brushed aside. The new testing protocol is stricter than ever, and the FIA isn't leaving room for interpretation. The message is loud and clear. If a part flexes when it shouldn't, you're in trouble. But that's not all. The FIA is also targeting another aerodynamic element: the beam wing. Often overlooked, this section of the rear wing plays a critical role in how air moves around the back of the car. Teams have been experimenting with slight movements in the beam wing for years, and now this area will also be under strict surveillance. Any visible or structural motion will lead to penalties. This multi-level crackdown is clearly aimed at stopping clever design tricks before they become widespread. While innovation has always been part of Formula One, there's a fine line between smart engineering and breaking the rules. The FIA believes some teams may have crossed that line. What makes the situation even more intense is how early it's all happening. We're not even into the first race of the season, and already teams are clashing over what's fair and what's not. Some fans support the FIA's hard stance, saying it keeps competition honest. Others feel it's an overreaction that may stifle creativity and punish teams for pushing boundaries. And so, the big question remains: are these new measures about fairness or control? With the new rules now active, teams have shifted focus, not just on improving lap times, but also on making sure their designs don't attract unwanted attention from officials. The spotlight has never been this intense on rear wing movement. Everyone in the paddock knows that one small error could cost them positions, points, or even a race result. This development has naturally led to debates across the sport. Engineers are walking a tightrope, trying to keep performance high without crossing into dangerous territory. Every design tweak, no matter how minor, now goes through layers of internal checks before being approved for the track. Some teams have already started reinforcing components, adding extra support to prevent flex. Others are rumored to be quietly redesigning certain parts entirely. While Red Bull stands by their complaint, others have questioned the timing. Some believe Red Bull used the preseason period strategically, not just to fine-tune their own setup, but to stir trouble for teams they see as threats. After all, Ferrari and McLaren have shown promising pace in testing. Bringing attention to their rear wings could disrupt their momentum, or at least distract their engineers with rule compliance tasks. Meanwhile, the FIA is determined to maintain control and stop any rule bending early in the year. Officials have stressed that the rear wing inspections are only part of a larger plan. They intend to monitor other areas too, especially components that might be borderline legal under the current framework. This level of oversight is rare before the first race even begins. It shows how high the stakes are this season, with championship hopes possibly influenced not just by driver skill or speed, but by strict technical enforcement. While all eyes were on the rulebook and rear wing controversy, another story was quietly building, and that was the early strength shown by McLaren. During preseason testing, their car, the MCL39, seemed to have taken a major step forward. Not only did it look stable on track, but it was also putting up competitive times, both in short runs and over full race simulations. Observers noticed that McLaren's setup this year feels more refined. It doesn't wobble under braking. The front responds smoothly to steering input, and over longer stints, it keeps a steady rhythm something every driver wants from a car. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri looked confident throughout the sessions, handling the car with minimal corrections and delivering clean laps. What really caught attention, though, was McLaren's consistency. On day 2 of testing, both McLaren and Ferrari ran near-identical race simulation programs. Same fuel loads, similar weather, and tire strategies. While Ferrari showed bursts of speed, their performance had dips between stints. In contrast, Norris maintained a tight window of lap times through each phase, indicating strong balance and minimal tire drop-off. That difference matters more than people think. When a car can stay within a consistent pace over a long distance, it gives teams more strategic freedom. They can choose when to push and when to conserve without being forced into early pit stops because of tire wear. That kind of control can swing race outcomes, especially when competitors are struggling in the closing laps. There's a quiet confidence building inside the McLaren garage. No bold claims, no early celebrations, just a clear sense that they've built something competitive. One of the most underappreciated strengths of McLaren's current package is how well it handles tire wear. In recent years, they've steadily improved in this department, and with the MCL39, that progress is paying off. During testing, while many teams were forced to ease off after a few aggressive laps, McLaren's drivers were able to push for longer without dramatic drop-off. That becomes especially important during late race conditions, when other teams are struggling to hold on to their tires. McLaren's car remained sharp. This wasn't just theory. We saw evidence last season. Norris was able to make late gains in several races because his car still had life in the tires when others had already lost grip. Now, that same quality appears to be built even more solidly into the 2025 car. During long runs in Bahrain, both Norris and Piastri showed that even after 20 laps, the car didn't suffer from excessive understeer or sliding, two common signs of tire wear. Instead, the MCL39 remained planted. This not only helps lap times, but also boosts driver confidence, allowing them to plan overtakes or defend positions without constantly worrying about grip levels. What's interesting is how this advantage may grow as the season progresses. Many circuits on the calendar are known for high tire stress. If McLaren can continue managing their rubber better than rivals, they could be in a position to run longer first stints, switch strategies mid-race, or avoid multiple pit stops altogether. That flexibility could win them races, not just through raw speed, but smart execution. Of course, testing conditions aren't identical to race weekends. The track in Bahrain was cooler than usual, which naturally helped with grip and tire life. Still, even accounting for that, the signs are positive. Other teams face similar conditions, yet McLaren stood out in how they maximized every lap of a stint dot as the teams pack up after preseason testing and head toward the opening race weekend. One thing is clear, McLaren has made a strong first impression. While it's still too early to hand out predictions, the signs are difficult to ignore. The car looks fast, balanced, and reliable. But even more important, it behaves well over a race distance. That's a foundation many teams are still chasing. Beyond the numbers and lap charts, it's the calmness within McLaren's camp that stands out. There's no rush to celebrate or overhype the progress. Instead, the focus remains on sticking to their process, staying sharp, improving every weekend, and keeping development steady as the season unfolds. Meanwhile, rival teams know they have work to do. Red Bull might still have the strongest baseline, but Ferrari's inconsistency and Mercedes' uncertain upgrades have opened the door. If McLaren can keep this form going through the early rounds, they may find themselves in a much stronger title position than anyone expected just a few months ago. But that's where the real test begins. Maintaining pace, staying out of regulatory trouble, and adapting to different circuits will decide whether this early promise turns into something bigger. Pressure will build. Mistakes will be costly, and the battle for the top won't be decided by just one strong week of testing. Fans, experts, and teams alike will be watching every move once the lights go out for the first race. And while nothing is guaranteed, McLaren has every reason to feel confident. Whether they can convert that into podiums or even wins is something only time will reveal. Now the wait ends. The talking stops. It's time for the real racing to begin.